Slaanesh is a problem, not for the Imperium, they've got enough problems already, but for Games Workshop. See, if you're a soulless corporate entity trying to make Warhammer 40,000 the next big mainstream juggernaut, nothing throws a wrench in your PG-13 ambitions quite like a chaos god whose entire shtick revolves around horniness, the use of mind-altering substances, and every kind of excess the human mind can conjure. Khorne is simple. Skulls and blood. Cool, slap it on a lunchbox. Nurgle. Gross, but marketable in that but fun way. Tzeentch. Just a bunch of weird birds and magic. But Slaanesh? Slaanesh is a corporate nightmare. And the worst part? They're absolutely going to ruin it. As Warhammer 40,000 inches closer to the mainstream spotlight, Games Workshop faces a choice. Either keep Slaanesh's provocative, boundary-pushing essence intact and risk controversy, or sanitize the hell out of it until the chaos god of excess is about as edgy as a sugar-free energy drink. If you've been paying attention to how other media companies operate when faced with difficult content, you already know which way this is going. Today, we'll explore why Slaanesh is such a unique and essential part of Warhammer 40,000, how corporate fear is already softening their edges, and why Games Workshop's inevitable overreaction will strip away everything that makes Slaanesh actually interesting. Buckle up, because nothing survives corporate sanitization unscathed, not even the Dark Prince of Chaos. Without Slaanesh, Warhammer 40,000 loses something fundamental: its teeth. The universe thrives on being a grotesque parody of real-life extremes. Slaanesh embodies that better than almost anything else. Excess, hedonism, the destructive consequences of indulgence. These are not just edgy window dressing. They speak to a core theme of the setting. In a galaxy where everything is turned up to 11, Slaanesh is the reminder that sometimes the most dangerous temptations come wrapped in silk and honey. Narratively, Slaanesh provides balance to the Chaos pantheon. Khorne is all brute force and anger, but Slaanesh is subtle, seductive, and manipulative. If Khorne represents the brutality of war, Slaanesh represents the slow rot of corruption from within. That duality is part of what makes Chaos as a whole so compelling. Take Slaanesh out of the picture, or water them down, and the whole structure feels lopsided, just a bunch of angry dudes punching each other forever. And then there are the Eldar. Slaanesh isn't just some random chaos god doing their own thing. They are baked into the very history of the galaxy. The fall of the Eldar, one of the defining events of 40,000 lore, happened because the Eldar partied a little too hard and accidentally birthed a chaos god. Without Slaanesh, you lose that tragic irony. You lose the biting reminder that even the most advanced civilizations can destroy themselves chasing pleasure. Without Slaanesh, the galaxy gets a little less weird, a little less unhinged, and frankly, a lot more boring. If you squint, you can already see the cracks forming. Games Workshop has been quietly sanding down Slaanesh's rough edges for years now. Look at the current range of Slaanesh miniatures. Yes, they're still sleek and weird, but gone are the days of overtly sexualized designs. The infamous boob snake, vanished. The Hellraiser-inspired fiends, toned down. What we get instead are safer, more market-friendly forms that scream strange without crossing too many lines. Even the lore is changing. In recent publications, Slaanesh's themes of pleasure and pain are more abstract and less explicitly tied to things like sexual excess. Instead of being the embodiment of indulgence without limits, Slaanesh now leans harder into vague notions of obsession or perfection. It feels like a deliberate shift to avoid triggering the corporate alarm bells. And if you want the clearest proof that Games Workshop is afraid of Slaanesh, just look at Age of Sigmar. When they split Warhammer Fantasy into this newer, shinier setting, they literally lock Slaanesh away in a cosmic timeout. The official reason? Mysterious circumstances. The real reason? You can practically smell the legal department's panic sweat. Because while Khorne can get away with murder, literally, Slaanesh's whole deal is a lot harder to slip past the censors in a world where even mildly suggestive content makes boardrooms break out in hives. Let's face it, Slaanesh was never meant to survive a corporate boardroom. Trying to market a god of excess, pleasure, and some genuinely horrifying body horror to a mass audience is like trying to sell leather harnesses at a church bake sale. Games Workshop is stuck in a lose-lose scenario. Keep Slaanesh true to form and risk public outrage, or sanitize the whole thing and strip away what makes the Chaos God interesting in the first place. Given their track record, it's not hard to guess which direction they'll take. Prepare yourself for Slaanesh Light, now with 50% less BDSM and 100% more corporate-approved blandness. What makes this even funnier or sadder, depending on your perspective, is that Slaanesh's whole identity is a challenge to restraint. The god represents pushing boundaries until they snap. But that's exactly what a corporate-friendly Warhammer cannot do. Every spike of creative transgression is sanded down into something safe and marketable, transforming the Chaos God of pleasure and pain into a PG-13 villain who probably just really likes fancy clothes. At this point, we're one step away from Slaanesh opening a luxury fashion line instead of shattering minds. The writing's already on the wall. Compare older depictions of Slaanesh's followers, writhing masses of disturbing beauty, limbs twisted in grotesque ecstasy, to the safer, polished hedonites of Slaanesh in Age of Sigmar. The modern designs are sleek, sure, but they lack the sheer wrongness that once defined the faction. And if you think Warhammer 40K is safe from that same corporate facelift, think again. Games Workshop will almost certainly extend the same treatment to 40K's Slaaneshi forces, trading nightmare fuel for action figure aesthetics. Why? Because it's easier. If you flatten the edges, you avoid controversy. No more explaining why you have a faction inspired by the darkest corners of human desire. No more pearl-clutching media scandals. Just clean, digestible chaos that looks cool on a shelf without making anyone uncomfortable. But in doing so, they risk erasing the very thing that makes Slaanesh unique, turning a god of unrestrained hedonism into yet another generic evil overlord with a flair for the dramatic. Slaanesh isn't just about pleasure, it's about the cost of it, excess taken to its horrifying conclusion. But you can't explore those themes in a sanitized, mainstream product without losing something vital. The danger of Slaanesh was always in that razor-thin line between beauty and abomination, pleasure and pain blending together until you can't tell them apart. Once you remove the danger, you remove the soul of the character. The sad truth is, Games Workshop is too risk-averse to let Slaanesh stay dangerous. Corporate interests demand a version of the setting that's easier to sell, and that means neutering any elements that might provoke outrage. We've already seen it happen in Age of Sigmar. Why would Warhammer 40,000 be any different? So brace yourself for a Slaanesh who's edgy in the same way a Hot Topic t-shirt is edgy, safe, sterile, and completely defanged. Here's the thing. Just because we think this corporate whitewashing is a tragedy doesn't mean everyone else does. For every old-school fan lamenting the loss of Slaanesh's terrifying essence, there are plenty of new fans who prefer a less intense, more palatable version of chaos. And maybe that's fine. Maybe not everything has to be a relentless dive into the darkest corners of human psychology. If anything, it's probably best to accept that Slaanesh's golden age is behind us. What made the character fascinating is exactly what makes them incompatible with modern corporate media. So if you love the old Slaanesh, treasure what we've already got, because what's coming next is probably going to be a watered-down, market-friendly echo of the real thing. And hey, if that's what it takes to keep Warhammer afloat, maybe it's a price worth paying. Just don't expect the Prince of Pleasure to be all that pleasurable anymore. I know this video was particularly vitriolic, but as you can see, I have some very strong opinions on the subject. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.